The morning started like any other morning on Earth. People woke up, drank their coffee, and went to work. Children played in parks. Farmers tended their fields. Nobody knew that 300 alien warships had just arrived at the edge of their solar system. Commander Hannah sat in her office in Geneva, watching the screens that monitored space around Earth. She had been doing this job for 12 years. Most days were boring. Ships came and went, carrying cargo between Earth and other planets. Trade with alien civilizations had become normal. Humans sold food, minerals, and art. In return, they got technology and medicines. But today was different. Her computer started beeping. Red lights flashed across her main screen. Hannah leaned forward, her heart beating faster. The sensor showed something massive dropping out of hyperspace near Neptune. She pressed a button to get a clearer picture. 300 warships. All of them belonged to the Velkari hegemony. Hannah had studied the Velkari in training. They were a military empire that had conquered 17 other worlds in the past 50 years. They believed that might made right. They saw peaceful species as weak and easy targets. And now they were here, at Earth's doorstep. She picked up her phone and called her superior. Sir, we have a situation. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Thelenak of the Velkari looked at the blue and green planet ahead. Earth, such a beautiful world, and it would soon belong to his empire. His 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. This would be the easiest conquest of his career. What do the sensors show? He asked his crew. No military vessels, Admiral, his sensor officer reported. Only cargo ships and mining transports. Their defensive satellites are minimal. They have no weapons platforms that we can detect. Thelenak laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. Just as our intelligence reported. These humans are merchants and farmers, nothing more. They have grown soft trading with the galaxy. They forgot that peace only exists when someone is strong enough to enforce it. His communications officer turned to him. Shall the first broadcast the surrender terms, Admiral? Yes, give them 12 hours. Tell them to surrender, or we will start destroying their cities from orbit. Thelenak settled into his command chair. Already imagining the medals he would receive for adding Earth to the Empire, the message went out across all frequencies. Every television, radio, and computer on Earth suddenly displayed the same transmission. Admiral Thelenak's face filled the screens. He spoke in his own language, but translation software converted it to every human language. People of Earth, I am Admiral Thelenak of the Velkari hegemony. Your world is now under our control. You have 12 hours to surrender. Power down all your satellites. Ground all your ships. Prepare to accept Velkari rule. If you refuse, we will destroy your cities one by one until you comply. Resistance is useless. We have conquered 17 worlds. You will be the 18th. The transmission ended. For a moment, Earth was silent. Then the news networks exploded with panic. People flooded the streets. Some ran to bomb shelters. Others simply stood and stared at the sky, wondering if this was the end. But in Geneva, Commander Hannah was not panicking. She opened a secure channel to a secret facility in Colorado. This is Hannah. Confirmation code Alpha 79. I need to speak with Command. A voice answered immediately. We saw it, Commander. The protocol is authorized. Begin execution in 6 hours. Hannah closed her eyes and took a deep breath. 15 years of preparation. 15 years of secrets. 15 years of pretending. It was finally time. In orbit around Mars, Captain Doyon was loading cargo onto his transport ship, the Horizon's Promise. It was a big vessel, almost 200 meters long, designed to haul minerals between planets. He had been a cargo captain for 15 years. Before that, he had been in the military, but that was ancient history now. Or so everyone believed. His computer beeped. Doyan glanced at it and froze. An encrypted message. A military encryption that he had not seen in 15 years. His hands started to shake slightly as he opened it. Protocol Shepherd. Execute in 6 hours. Doyan sat back in his chair and laughed quietly. Finally, he had been waiting so long that he had almost believed the protocol would never be activated. He looked at his ship with new eyes. The Horizon's Promise was not really a cargo ship. It never had been. It was a weapon, and now it was time to stop pretending. He opened a secure channel to the other cargo ships scattered throughout the solar system. Brothers and sisters, this is Doyan. Did you receive it? Confirmed, came the first reply. Then another, and another. 200 voices, all confirming the same message. 200 cargo ships that were not really cargo ships at all. 6 hours, Doyan said. Maintain cover until then. Let them think we are afraid. Let them think we are running. Let them get close. As the hours passed, the Velkari fleet moved steadily toward Earth. They passed Neptune, then Uranus. Admiral Thalanak watched his sensors, expecting to see evacuation ships fleeing the planet. Instead, he saw something strange. The cargo ships were grouping together, forming clusters near Earth and Mars. What are they doing? He asked. His tactical officer studied the readings. It appears they are trying to create a defensive formation, Admiral. How ... pathetic. Cargo ships against our warships. They might as well throw rocks at us. The bridge crew laughed. Thalanak nodded in agreement. Perhaps they think that numbers will save them. Let them gather. It will make destroying them easier. All targets in one place. But in the back of his mind, something bothered him. Intelligence had said that humans were peaceful, that they had no military, that they had dismantled their weapons after making contact with alien civilizations. Everything he saw confirmed this. And yet, something felt wrong. The cargo ships were not running. They were not evacuating. They were moving with purpose, with coordination that seemed almost military. Thalanak pushed the thought away. He was being paranoid. Humans were weak. This would be over soon. The 12-hour deadline approached. Earth sent no reply to the Velkari demands. No surrender. No negotiation. Just silence. Thalanak found this silence unsettling, but he refused to show doubt to his crew. Prepare weapons, he ordered. When the deadline passes, we will destroy one of their cities as an example. Perhaps that will motivate them to surrender. His weapons officer began charging the plasma batteries. The massive guns could reduce a city to ash in minutes. Thalanak selected a target randomly from the map of Earth. A city called Mumbai. 7 million people lived there. 7 million people who would die because their government was too foolish to surrender. The deadline passed. Thalanak opened his mouth to give the order to fire . And every screen on his bridge turned red. His sensor officer gasped. Admiral, energy signatures. Multiple contacts appearing throughout the system. What? Where did they come from? I don't know, sir. They just ... appeared, as if they were there all along, but we could not see them. Above Earth's North Pole, Commander Hannah smiled. She spoke one word into her microphone. Decloak. Captain Doyan pressed a button on his console. Around him, the walls of his cargo hold split open. Weapon systems emerged from hidden compartments. His ship's true nature revealed itself, and in high orbit, the first Earth Defense Force battleship shimmered into existence, dropping its holographic camouflage. Then another appeared, and another. Within 90 seconds, 600 warships materialized throughout the solar system. Each one was twice the size of the largest Velkari vessel. Admiral Thelenak stared at his screens in horror. Where there had been empty space, there were now hundreds of warships. Where there had been cargo ships, there were now armed vessels bristling with weapons. His tactical display was completely red, covered with enemy contacts. This is impossible, he whispered. His communications officer turned to him, fear in all four eyes. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from Earth. President Meray's face appeared on the screen. She was an older woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She spoke in perfect Velkari, showing that humans had studied their enemies well. Admiral Thelenak, you made a mistake. You believed we were defenseless. You believed that because we trade peacefully, we cannot fight. You were wrong. For 30 years, we have prepared for this day. We hoped it would never come. We hoped that the galaxy would leave us in peace. But we knew that beings like you existed. So we built these ships. We trained our people. We waited. And now you are surrounded. Power down your weapons. You have 1 hour to comply. The transmission ended. Thelenak sat frozen in his chair, unable to process what had just happened. He had walked into a trap. Earth was not defenseless. Earth was a fortress that had been pretending to be a garden. And now the garden had shown its thorns. Admiral Thelenak could not believe what his sensors were showing him. His tactical officer counted the ships again and again, hoping the computer had made an error. But the numbers did not change. 600 warships surrounded the Velkari fleet. 600 ships that had appeared from nowhere. How did they hide them? Thelenak demanded. Our sensors are the best in the galaxy. We scanned this entire system before we arrived. There was nothing here. His science officer was studying the readings with all 4 of his hands moving across different screens. Admiral, these energy signatures are strange. I think they were using some kind of light-bending technology. Their ships were here the entire time, but they made themselves invisible to our sensors. We have theories about such technology, but we never thought anyone had actually built it. Thelenak felt cold fear creeping into his chest. Humans had technology that his empire only theorized about. What else were they hiding? On Earth, Commander Hana watched her tactical display with satisfaction. Every ship was in position exactly as planned. 15 years of secret drills and training had paid off. The Velkari thought they were hunting sheep, but they had walked into a wolf's den instead. Communications, broadcast on all channels. I want every ship in the galaxy to hear this. Her communications officer nodded. All channels open, Commander. Hana spoke clearly and firmly. This is Commander Hana of the Earth Defense Force. For 30 years, humanity has traded peacefully with the galactic community. We have shared our food, our art, our music. We asked only to be left alone. The Velkari chose to ignore that request. They believed we were weak because we chose peace. Today, we show them the price of that mistake. In orbit around Mars, Captain Doyon was busy transforming his ship. Panels that looked like cargo hold walls slid away to reveal weapon systems. Missile batteries extended from hidden compartments. What had looked like a simple transport vessel was now a warship armed with enough firepower to level a small moon. All around him, 200 other ships were doing the same thing. These vessels had been Earth's secret weapon for 15 years. They looked like ordinary cargo ships. They filed flight plans like ordinary cargo ships. They hauled cargo like ordinary cargo ships. But they were designed with dual purposes from the start. Every cargo hauler was also a warship waiting to be activated. Doyon opened a channel to his squadron. All ships, this is Doyon. Weapon systems check. Report status. One by one, his captains reported in. Every ship was ready for combat. Doyon allowed himself a small smile. They had practiced this transformation 1,000 times in secret. Now it was real. Lieutenant Jiwon sat at her weapons console aboard the battleship Indomitable. She was 26 years old and had been training for this moment since she was 18. She had joined the Earth Defense Force when most people did not even know it existed. The recruiter had approached her at university and asked if she wanted to help defend Earth. She had said yes without hesitation. Target acquisition systems online. She reported to her captain. Captain Hyun-woo stood at the center of the bridge. He was a veteran who had fought in the border wars against pirates 20 years ago, back when humanity was still expanding into space. He knew what combat looked like, and he did not like it. But sometimes fighting was necessary to protect what you loved. "Steady, everyone," Hyun-woo said calmly. "We do not fire unless they fire first. Our goal is to make them surrender, not to kill them." The Valkyrie fleet had stopped advancing. They were holding position near Jupiter, trying to figure out what to do next. Admiral Thelenak was arguing with his senior officers. "We should attack," his weapons officer insisted. "We still outnumber them 3-1 in ships." But his tactical officer shook his head. "Their ships are larger. Each one has twice our firepower, maybe more. And look at the formation. They have cut off our escape routes. If we try to retreat, they will catch us before we can jump to hyperspace." Sub-Commander Relkath, Thelenak's second in command, spoke quietly. "Admiral, we should consider surrender. We were sent here based on false intelligence. We believed Earth was defenseless. Clearly, they wanted us to believe that. This was a trap, and we walked into it." Thelenak's pride burned like fire in his chest. Surrender? Return home in disgrace? Tell the hegemony that he had been defeated by humans, a species that the Empire considered primitive? But what was the alternative? Fight a battle they could not win and watch his entire fleet get destroyed? Before he could decide, new contacts appeared on his sensors. His officer's voice rose in panic. "Admiral, something is rising from Earth itself. On the planet below, massive structures were emerging from the oceans. They had been hidden underwater for decades, waiting. These were the fortress platforms, Earth's ultimate defensive weapons. Each one was the size of a small city and armed with weapons that could crack a moon in half. Captain Taijin commanded Fortress Sejong, the largest of the 5 platforms. It had been his home for 10 years. He lived in the secret facility at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, maintaining the weapons systems that he hoped he would never have to use. But now the fortress was rising to the surface, water streaming off its massive hull. "All systems green," his weapons officer reported. "Main cannon charging. We will be ready to fire in 3 minutes." Taijin nodded slowly. The main cannon was a mass driver that could accelerate a projectile to nearly the speed of light. One shot from it would go straight through a Valkyrie battleship and keep going to hit whatever was behind it. It was the most powerful weapon humanity had ever built, and it terrified him. "Hold fire until ordered," Taijin said. "Charging the weapon is enough. Let them see what they are facing." Admiral Thelenak watched the fortress platforms emerge and felt his will to fight crumble. These weapons were beyond anything his fleet could counter. If those platforms fired, his ships would be destroyed before they could even respond. He had commanded fleets for 30 years. He had won 40 battles. And now he was facing his first defeat at the hands of a species he had thought was harmless. "Open a channel to the human commander," he said quietly. His communications officer hesitated. "Admiral, if we negotiate, the hegemony will see it as weakness." "The hegemony is not here," Thelenak snapped. "They are not the ones about to die. Open the channel." Commander Hannah's face appeared on his screen. She looked calm, almost sympathetic. That made Thelenak feel worse somehow. She was not gloating. She was not celebrating. She just looked sad that it had come to this. "Admiral Thelenak," Hannah said, "do you wish to discuss surrender terms?" Thelenak's pride made him want to refuse, to spit insults at her. But he thought of the 300 ships under his command, thousands of crew members who had families waiting for them at home, young officers who had joined the military seeking glory, not death. He could not let them die for his pride. "What? What are your terms?" he asked, his voice barely steady. Hannah glanced at someone off screen, then looked back at him. "Power down your weapons. Lock your engines. You and your senior officers will be taken into custody. Your crews will remain on their ships under guard. Once we have secured your fleet, we will discuss what happens next. No one else needs to die today, Admiral." It was more mercy than Thelenak had expected. In the hegemony, defeated enemies were usually enslaved or killed. But these humans were offering imprisonment instead of death. Why? What kind of warriors showed mercy to enemies who had come to conquer them? "I need to consult with my officers," Thelenak said. "You have 5 minutes," Hannah replied. "Then we will assume you have chosen to fight. Choose wisely, Admiral." The screen went dark. Thelenak looked at his bridge crew. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. Sub-Commander Relkath spoke first. "Sir, we must surrender. Look at the tactical situation. Those fortress platforms are charging their weapons. If we fight, we will all die. If we surrender, we might live. I do not like it either, but it is the only logical choice." His weapons officer looked angry. "We are Velkari. We do not surrender to inferior species." "They are not inferior," Relkath said sharply. "That is what we thought, and that is why we are in this situation. Look at their ships. Look at their weapons. Look at the fact that they hid all of this from the entire galaxy for decades. They are not inferior. We were just too arrogant to see the truth." Thelenak closed his eyes. His career was over. His reputation was destroyed. But his crews could live. That had to count for something. "Send the surrender signal," he said quietly. "All ships are to power down weapons and prepare to be boarded." Around the solar system, the Velkari warships began shutting down their weapon systems. Gun batteries went cold. Missile tubes sealed. Shields dropped. 300 warships surrendering without firing a single shot. Captain Dayan watched from his ship and felt no satisfaction. He had spent 15 years pretending to be a simple cargo hauler. 15 years of maintaining the disguise, of hauling real cargo, of playing the part. He had done it because he believed Earth needed hidden defenders. But he had never wanted to use these weapons. He had hoped the deception would be enough to prevent war forever. "So much preparation for 30 seconds of truth," he said to his co-pilot. "Better than the alternative," she replied. "If we had not prepared, we would be slaves right now." "Or dead," Dayan nodded. She was right, of course. But it still felt hollow somehow. They had won by deception and overwhelming force. There was no glory in it, no honor, just necessity. On Earth, people were gathering in the streets, staring up at the sky. News broadcasts showed images of the Velkari fleet surrendering. Humanity had been on the edge of disaster, and then suddenly it was over. They were safe. But many people did not understand how or why President Myray prepared to address the planet. She knew she had to explain what had happened, why Earth had kept such enormous secrets for so long. People would be angry that their government had hidden so much from them. But they would also be grateful to be alive. President Myray stood before the cameras in her office. Every screen on Earth showed her face. People had gathered in their homes, in public squares, anywhere they could watch. They wanted answers. They deserved answers. She had been president for 6 years, but she had known about the secret fleet for much longer. She had been a senator when the program began, one of the few civilians trusted with the truth. The weight of that secret had been crushing for 15 years. Now, finally, she could tell everyone. "My fellow humans," she began, "today you witness something that must seem impossible. A vast military force appeared from nowhere and stopped an invasion fleet. You have questions. I will try to answer them." She paused, gathering her thoughts. 30 years ago, when we first made contact with alien civilizations, we were excited. We thought we had found friends among the stars. And we did find some friends. But we also discovered something troubling. We learned that the galaxy operates by harsh rules. The strong dominate the weak. Peaceful species are often conquered or enslaved. We realized that if we appeared weak, we would become targets. Across the galaxy, other species were also watching this broadcast. The news was spreading through every trading station and diplomatic channel. Earth, the quiet little world that sold vegetables and minerals, had just revealed itself as a military power. Ambassadors were frantically sending reports back to their homeworlds. Intelligence agencies were trying to figure out how they had missed this. Myray continued. So we made a decision. We would appear weak while secretly building strength. We dismantled our visible military. We presented ourselves as peaceful traders and farmers. We smiled and traded with anyone who came in peace. But in secret, we built ships. We trained soldiers. We created weapons that we hoped we would never need to use. We did this because we loved peace, but we refused to be victims. In Geneva, Commander Hanna was coordinating the boarding of Valkyrie ships. Teams of human soldiers were moving through the alien vessels, securing weapons and taking the crew into custody. The Valkyrie were cooperating, mostly. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. Many just looked confused. "Why did you not destroy us?" One Valkyrie officer asked a human soldier. "We came to conquer your world. Why show mercy?" The soldier, a young woman named Sora, shrugged. "Because killing you would not change anything. You were following orders. You did not know the truth about Earth. Now you do. Maybe you will go home and tell your people that humans are not easy prey. Maybe that will prevent another war." The Valkyrie officer thought about this. In his culture, defeated enemies were never shown mercy. The strong destroyed the weak. That was the natural order. But these humans had a different philosophy. They were strong enough to destroy his entire fleet, but they chose not to. What kind of thinking was that? Admiral Thalanak was brought aboard the Indomitable as a prisoner. Captain Hyun-woo met him in the hangar bay. The two commanders studied each other. Hyun-woo saw a proud military leader who had been broken by an unexpected defeat. Thalanak saw a quiet, serious man who did not seem to take joy in victory. "I am Captain Hyun-woo. I will be escorting you to your quarters." "Quarters?" Thalanak asked. "Not a cell?" "You are a prisoner of war, not a criminal," Hyun-woo replied. "You will be treated according to international law. You will have a room, food, and medical care if needed. Later, there will be a tribunal to determine what happens next. But for now, you are simply a guest who cannot leave." As they walked through the corridors of the battleship, Thalanak observed everything. The human ship was different from Valkyrie vessels. It was cleaner, more organized. The crew members they passed looked disciplined, but not afraid. No one seemed to fear their officers. In the hegemony, junior officers were terrified of making mistakes because mistakes led to punishment. Here, the atmosphere felt different. "Your ship is impressive," Thalanak admitted. "How long have you been preparing for war?" 30 years, Hyun-woo said. "But we were not preparing for war. We were preparing to prevent it. There is a difference." Thelanak did not understand that difference, but he was starting to think it might be important. On the planet's surface, people were still trying to process what had happened. Minho, a farmer in Korea, sat with his family watching the news. He had a son in the military, or what he thought was a cargo transport service. Now he learned that his son Doyon had actually been commanding a warship disguised as a freighter. "He lied to us for 15 years, Minho's wife said quietly. "He was protecting us," Minho replied. "If people knew about the ships, the secret would have leaked. Other species would have learned the truth. The deception only worked if everyone believed it, even us." His daughter, a university student, shook her head. "But the government lied to us. They built all these weapons in secret. What else are they hiding?" It was a question many people were asking. Trust in the government had been damaged. President Myray knew this and addressed it in her speech. "I know that many of you feel betrayed," she said. "You trusted your government, and we kept enormous secrets from you. I cannot change that. I can only tell you why. If the secret had leaked, if even a few people had talked, the entire plan would have failed. Our enemies would have known about our strength. They would have come in greater numbers, or not come at all. The deception required total secrecy. I am sorry for the pain that causes, but I am not sorry for keeping you safe." Across the solar system, Captain Taijin was powering down Fortress Sejong. The massive weapon platform was slowly sinking back into the ocean. It had been visible for less than 30 minutes, but that had been enough. The Velkari had seen it. More importantly, the entire galaxy had seen it. Earth had weapons that could crack planets. Taijin felt exhausted. He had spent 10 years maintaining this weapon, running drills, preparing for a day that he thought might never come. Now that the day had arrived and passed, he felt empty. What was he supposed to do now? The secret was out. His purpose was completed. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Chisu, sat down next to him. "Strange, is it not? We spent a decade preparing for one moment. Now the moment is over. Do you think there will be more invasions?" Taijin asked. Chisu considered the question. "Maybe, but not for a while. Word will spread about what happened here. Other aggressive species will think twice before attacking Earth. We bought ourselves time, at least. In the Galactic Assembly, the main diplomatic body that governed relations between species, chaos reigned. Ambassador Junho of Earth sat calmly in his seat, while other ambassadors shouted questions at him. How had Earth hidden such a large fleet? Why had they not informed the Assembly? Were they planning to use these weapons against other species? Junho waited for the noise to die down, then spoke clearly. "We informed no one because we trusted no one. In the 30 years since we joined the galactic community, we have been treated with condescension. Many of you considered us primitive. Some of you discussed whether humans were intelligent enough to deserve assembly representation. We heard those discussions. We said nothing. We smiled and traded and pretended not to notice. Meanwhile, we prepared to defend ourselves." An ambassador from the Krell Consortium stood up. The Krell were an old, established species who had dominated galactic politics for centuries. "This is unacceptable. You have upset the balance of power. The Assembly must regulate military forces. You have broken our trust." Junho laughed, a sound that surprised everyone. "Trust? You never trusted us. You tolerated us. There is a difference. And as for upsetting the balance of power, good. The old balance allowed empires like the Velkari to conquer weaker species with no consequences. Maybe the new balance will be better." The Krell ambassador looked furious, but other ambassadors were nodding. Several species had been victims of aggressive empires. They had suffered because they were weak and had no one to help them. Earth's revelation changed the equation. Now there was a new military power in the galaxy, one that claimed to oppose conquest. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Jiwan was off duty and visiting her parents. They lived in a small town and had no idea that their daughter had been training to fight aliens for 8 years. She had told them she worked in communications for a trading company. Now the truth was out. Her mother hugged her tightly. "You could have died today." "But I did not," Jiwan said. "And neither did anyone else." The Velkari surrendered without a fight. That was the goal all along. We built these weapons to prevent war, not to fight it. Her father looked at her with new eyes. His daughter was a warrior. She knew how to operate weapon systems that could destroy cities. It was hard to reconcile that with the girl who used to play in their garden. "Are you proud of what you did?" He asked. Ji-One thought about it. "I am proud that no one died today. I am proud that Earth is safe. But I am not proud that we had to build weapons in the first place. I wish the galaxy was a place where we did not need them." Admiral Thelenak sat in his quarters on the Indomitable, staring at the wall. His entire worldview had collapsed. The Velkari believed that military strength was everything. They believed that the strong should rule and the weak should serve. It was the foundation of their entire civilization. But Earth had shown something different. They had strength, but hid it. They had power, but did not use it until forced to. They defeated their enemies, but showed them mercy. None of this made sense in Velkari terms. A human soldier brought him food. It was simple but good, much better than military rations on Velkari ships. Thelenak ate slowly, thinking about what would happen next. Would he be executed? Imprisoned for life? Sent home in disgrace? He did not know. These humans were unpredictable. They did not follow the rules he understood, and that made them far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Sub-Commander Relkath was in a different part of the ship, also thinking. Unlike Thelenak, he was not consumed by shame. He was curious. These humans had accomplished something remarkable. They had fooled the entire galaxy for 30 years. That took planning, discipline, and patience on a scale he had never seen. He asked his guard, a human named Yoon, a question. "How did your people keep this secret for so long? Surely someone wanted to talk. Someone wanted to boast about your strength." Yoon shrugged. People who worked on the program were carefully selected. They understood the stakes. They knew that talking could get Earth conquered. Fear is a powerful motivator. And so is love. We loved our planet. We loved our families. We kept the secret because revealing it would endanger everything we cared about. Relkath nodded slowly. Perhaps humans understood something that the Velkari had forgotten. Strength without purpose was just violence. But strength combined with love and protection, that was something else entirely. That was what made Earth dangerous. 3 weeks had passed since the Velkari surrender. Earth's secret was now known throughout the galaxy, and the reactions were varied. Some species expressed outrage at the deception. Others quietly began reviewing their own defense plans, wondering what other surprises might be hidden among the stars. A few sent diplomatic messages expressing respect for Earth's strategic patience. Commander Hana had been promoted to Admiral. She now commanded the entire Earth Defense Force, which was no longer secret. The ships that had hidden in the shadows for 15 years now patrolled openly. Every day, tourists came to observation decks to see the massive vessels that had saved their world. But Hannah took no pleasure in the attention. She sat in her office, reviewing casualty reports. 0 human casualties. 43 Velkari wounded during the boarding operations, all of them recovering. It was the best possible outcome for a military confrontation, but it still weighed on her. Captain Hyunwoo entered her office. "The tribunal is ready to begin, Admiral. The Velkari officers will be brought to the courtroom in 1 hour. Hannah nodded. "How is Admiral Thelenak?" Quiet. He spends most of his time reading our military history. I think he is trying to understand how we think. And the others? Sub-Commander Relkath has been asking many questions. He wants to learn everything about Earth. The junior officers are frightened, but they are being treated well. No problems. The tribunal was held in The Hague, the same city where Earth had tried war criminals for centuries. The courtroom was filled with observers from dozens of alien species. The Galactic Assembly had sent representatives to watch. This trial would set a precedent for how Earth dealt with enemies. Judge Kyung-min entered the courtroom. She was 70 years old, with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been a judge for 30 years and had volunteered for this difficult assignment. How do you judge someone who came to conquer your world but failed? Admiral Thalanak and his senior officers were brought in. They wore simple gray uniforms, not prison jumpsuits. Their restraints had been removed. Judge Kyung-min had insisted on that. They are officers who surrendered honorably, she had said. We will treat them with the dignity their rank deserves. Thalanak stood before the judge, his 4 eyes meeting her gaze steadily. He expected execution or life imprisonment. His career was over, his reputation destroyed. But he would face his fate with whatever courage he had left. Judge Kyung-min spoke clearly. Admiral Thalanak of the Velkari hegemony, you are charged with attempted invasion of Earth and threatening billions of human lives. How do you answer these charges? Guilty, Thalanak said simply. I came here to conquer. I failed. I accept responsibility for my actions and the actions of my fleet. The judge nodded. Before I pass judgment, I want to understand something. Why did you choose to surrender? You could have fought. You could have retreated. Why did you give up without firing a single shot? Thalanak was silent for a moment. Because I realized that fighting would accomplish nothing except death. Your fleet was superior in every way. My pride wanted to fight anyway. But I thought of the thousands of crew members under my command. They trusted me to lead them. I could not lead them into a slaughter just to preserve my honor. So you chose their lives over your reputation? Yes. Judge Kyung-min leaned back in her chair. That took courage, Admiral. A different kind of courage than fighting, but courage nonetheless. Thalanak looked surprised. He had not expected any human to acknowledge that. The judge continued. You came to conquer Earth. You threatened to destroy our cities. Under our laws, these are serious crimes that could carry severe punishment. However, you surrendered when you realized the situation was hopeless. You cooperated fully with our forces. No human died because of your actions. These factors will be considered. She paused, looking at the packed courtroom. I am going to do something unusual. Admiral Thalanak, you and your senior officers will not be imprisoned. Instead, you will remain on Earth for 6 months as observers. You will be assigned guides who will show you our world. You will learn about human culture, history, and philosophy. At the end of 6 months, you will be free to return to your hegemony with your fleet. Your crews will be released immediately and may leave whenever they wish. The courtroom erupted in noise. Some people shouted in approval. Others yelled in anger. How could Earth let them go? They had come to enslave humanity. Judge Kyung-min struck her gavel, demanding silence. I know this decision will be controversial, but I believe that understanding prevents future wars better than punishment. Admiral Thalanak came here believing humans were weak and defenseless. He was wrong. Now he knows the truth. I want him to learn more truths. I want him to go home and tell his people that Earth is strong, yes, but also merciful. That we could have destroyed his fleet, but chose not to. Perhaps that knowledge will prevent another invasion. Thalanak stared at the judge, unable to speak. This made no sense in his worldview. Enemies should be destroyed or enslaved, not educated. What kind of strategy was this? Sub-Commander Relkath understood before his admiral did. He leaned over and whispered, "They are making you their messenger, sir. They want you to go home and tell the hegemony that attacking Earth is foolish. Your testimony will be more powerful than any weapon." The tribunal ended. The Velkari crews were informed they could leave. Many did, eager to get away from Earth and return home. But some stayed, curious about the world that had defeated them. They wanted to understand these strange humans who fought like warriors, but thought like philosophers. Captain Doyon returned to his ship, which was being genuinely converted back to a cargo vessel. The weapons were being removed, the hidden compartments sealed. He would go back to being a simple trader, hauling goods between planets. But he would keep his military certification active, just in case Earth needed him again. He stood in his cargo bay, watching workers remove missile launchers. Lieutenant Bora, his co-pilot, joined him. Strange, is it not? We spent 15 years pretending to be merchants. Then for one day we were warriors. Now we go back to pretending, except now everyone knows the truth. Doyon nodded. The deception is over, but the mission continues. We still need to move cargo. Earth still needs to trade. The only difference is that now when we dock at alien stations, they will know that our ships might have teeth. Will that help or hurt trade? Both, probably. Some species will avoid us out of fear. Others will seek us out because they respect strength. We will see. President Myray was dealing with the diplomatic fallout. The Galactic Assembly had demanded a meeting to discuss Earth's military capabilities. Some species wanted regulations imposed on human weapons. Others wanted to form alliances with Earth, seeing an opportunity to protect themselves from aggressive empires. Ambassador Junho represented Earth at the Assembly. He stood before the gathered aliens, a small human among giants, but he spoke with confidence. Many of you are angry that we hid our strength. You feel deceived. I understand that. But ask yourselves this. If we had announced our military power, what would have happened? Would you have respected us? Or would you have seen us as a threat to be eliminated? We chose deception because the galaxy does not reward honesty from the weak. A Krell ambassador interrupted. You speak of the weak, but you are clearly not weak. You have weapons that could threaten any species here. And yet we threaten no one, Junho replied. We have defended ourselves, nothing more. We do not seek conquest. We do not want an empire. We want only what we have always wanted, to live in peace and trade fairly with those who will trade with us. The weapons exist to ensure that peace remains an option. His words were translated into dozens of languages. Some ambassadors nodded in agreement. Others looked skeptical. But all of them were paying attention now. Earth could no longer be dismissed or ignored. Admiral Thelenek began his 6-month observation period. He was assigned a guide, a human professor named Counselor Nara. She was an expert in human history and philosophy, and her job was to help him understand Earth. Where would you like to start? She asked him. I want to understand why you showed mercy, Thelenek said. In my culture, defeated enemies are destroyed or enslaved. You could have killed my entire fleet. Why did you not? Nara took him to a museum. She showed him exhibits about Earth's wars, the terrible conflicts that had nearly destroyed human civilization centuries ago. She explained how humans had learned that revenge only created more enemies. That true victory came not from destroying your opponents, but from making them no longer want to fight. We have made many mistakes, Nara said. We have fought terrible wars. We have committed atrocities that shame us. But we learned from those mistakes. We learned that strength without wisdom is just brutality. We learned that showing mercy is not weakness. It is the hardest kind of strength. Thelanak spent hours in that museum, reading about human history. He learned about wars that killed millions. He learned about reconciliation and forgiveness. He learned about enemies who became friends after conflict ended. It was all so foreign to his experience. Over the following weeks, Nara took him to other places. He visited schools where human children learned not just about fighting, but about art and music and literature. He attended a performance of human music that moved him in ways he did not understand. He ate food from different human cultures and learned that Earth was not one unified society, but hundreds of different ones that had learned to coexist that one day. Nara took him to a memorial for victims of war. Thousands of names were carved into stone, representing humans who had died in past conflicts. Thelanak read the names silently. "We remember them," Nara said quietly. "We remember what war costs. That is why we avoid it when possible. Not because we are weak, but because we know the price." Thelanak felt something break inside him. His entire life had been dedicated to military conquest. The hegemony celebrated victory and strength. They built monuments to generals and admirals who had conquered worlds. But they did not remember the common soldiers who died. They did not honor the cost of war. "I understand now," he said quietly. "You are strong because you remember what it means to be weak. We Velkari have been strong for so long that we forgot." Lieutenant Jiwan was adjusting to peacetime. She had trained for war her entire adult life. Now that the crisis was over, she was not sure what to do with herself. She sat with Captain Hyunwoo in the officers' lounge. "I thought I would feel victorious," she admitted. "But I just feel empty. We trained so hard for one battle that never really happened." Hyunwoo smiled gently. "That is the best kind of victory. The battle we prevent is better than the battle we win. You should feel proud. Your readiness, your training, all of it contributed to stopping a war before it started. But what now? What do? We stay ready. We keep training. We hope we never have to fight again. And if we do have to fight, we remember what we are fighting for. Not glory or conquest, but home and peace." Jiwan thought about that. Maybe the captain was right. Maybe the highest form of military service was preventing war rather than winning it. 6 months passed quickly. Admiral Thelanak's time on Earth was coming to an end. He had spent those months traveling the world, learning about human culture and history. He had visited cities and farms, factories and universities. He had spoken with soldiers and civilians, leaders and common workers. Each conversation had changed him a little more. On his last day on Earth, he stood on a beach in Korea, watching the sunset over the ocean. Counselor Nara stood beside him. Over the months, they had become something like friends. He had learned more from her than he had learned in his entire military career. "I do not want to go back," he admitted. "Here, I have learned things that will make me an outcast in the hegemony. I have learned that strength is not just military power. I have learned that mercy has value. These ideas will seem weak to my people." Nara smiled. "Then teach them. You are an admiral. People will listen to you. Maybe not at first, but eventually. Change is slow, but it happens. What if they reject me? What if they court-martial me for surrendering? Then you'll have tried. Sometimes the bravest thing a warrior can do is admit when the fight is wrong." The next morning, Thelanak and his officers prepared to depart. Their fleet had been fully repaired and resupplied by human engineers. The ships were in better condition than when they arrived. That small gesture said more than any speech about Earth's philosophy. Commander Hana, now Admiral Hana, met with Thelanak one final time in Geneva. They stood in her office, 2 military leaders from different worlds, looking at each other with mutual respect. "I hope you learned something during your time here," Hana said. I learned that I was wrong about everything, Thelanak replied. I thought strength meant conquest. I thought mercy was weakness. I thought the strong should rule and the weak should serve. But you showed me a different path. Strength can protect instead of dominate. Mercy can be strategic. The weak can become strong if given time and opportunity. Hannah extended her hand. It took Thelanak a moment to remember the human gesture. He grasped her hand awkwardly. His people did not shake hands, but he understood the meaning. Go home, Admiral. Tell your people the truth. Tell them that Earth is strong, but that we seek no empire. Tell them that attacking us was a mistake, but that we forgive that mistake. Perhaps your words will prevent another war. And if my people do not listen, if another fleet comes, then we will defend ourselves again. But I hope it does not come to that. I hope that understanding will win where weapons failed. Thelanak boarded his flagship for the journey home. His crew had changed during their time near Earth. Many of them had interacted with humans, traded stories, shared meals. They had learned that the enemy was not so different from themselves. Both species loved their families. Both valued loyalty and courage. Both wanted to live in peace, though they had very different ideas about how to achieve it. As the Velkari fleet jumped to hyperspace, Thelanak sat in his command chair and began writing. He would record everything he had learned. He would write about human philosophy and their approach to warfare. He would explain why mercy was strength and why conquest was ultimately self-defeating. He did not know if anyone would listen, but he had to try. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal. The orbital shipyards that had been hidden were now operating openly. New warships were being built, not for conquest, but for defense. Earth had shown its teeth to the galaxy. Now it would maintain those teeth while hoping never to use them again. Captain Doyon was back to hauling cargo, but with a difference. His first trade mission after the conflict took him to a Velkari border world. He was nervous about the reception he would receive. Would they see him as an enemy? Would they refuse to trade? When he docked at the station, a group of Velkari officials met him. They looked uncomfortable, but not hostile. Captain Doyon, the lead official said, we have heard about what happened at Earth. Our government has instructed us to maintain normal trade relations. We hope there will be no problems. Doyon smiled. No problems from me. I am here to deliver medical supplies and pick up refined metals. Just business. The trade went smoothly. As Doyon was preparing to leave, a young Velkari approached him hesitantly. Captain, is it true that your cargo ships are also warships? Doyon considered how to answer. They were. Most are being converted back to pure cargo vessels. But yes, we designed them with dual purposes. We hoped we would never need the weapons, but we wanted to be prepared. That was clever. Deceptive, but clever. We prefer to think of it as cautious. The young Velkari smiled, a gesture he had probably learned from watching human entertainment. Perhaps we could learn something from your caution. President Myray was preparing for her next address to Earth. Public opinion had stabilized after the initial shock. Most people understood why the secrecy had been necessary. Some were still angry, but the anger was fading. They were alive and safe. That counted for something. Ambassador Juno had returned from the Galactic Assembly with news. Several species wanted to form closer ties with Earth. Some wanted defense agreements. Others wanted technology exchanges. A few smaller species that had been bullied by larger empires wanted Earth's protection. Myray discussed these proposals with her advisors. Counselor Nara was among them. We must be careful, Nara warned. If we start making defense agreements, we could get pulled into conflicts that are not our concern. We could become the very thing we opposed, a military power that interferes in other worlds. But if we refuse all alliances, we stand alone, another advisor argued. We need friends in the galaxy. Myray thought carefully. We will make agreements, but only with species that share our values. We will defend those who cannot defend themselves, but we will not impose our will on others. We will be a shield, not a sword. It was a difficult balance, but Myray believed it was the right path. Earth had revealed itself as a military power. Now it needed to show what kind of power it would be. Lieutenant Yuan found her purpose again. She volunteered to train the next generation of Defense Force officers. She taught them not just how to operate weapons, but when to use them and when to hold back. She shared her experience from the brief confrontation with the Velkari. We won because we were prepared, she told her students. But more importantly, we won because we did not want to fight. We built overwhelming force so we would never have to use it. That is the paradox of defense. The stronger you are, the less you need to prove it. One of her students asked, "What if someone attacks us again? What if next time they come with an even bigger fleet? Then we will be ready. But we will still try to avoid fighting if possible." Every battle, even a victory, leaves scars. The best warrior is one who wins without fighting. Captain Hyun-woo was promoted to Commodore and given command of a battle group. His ships patrolled Earth's sector of space, showing the flag but not threatening anyone. He received many communications from passing alien vessels. Some were wary. Some were respectful. A few were curious. One day, a small transport ship sent a distress signal. It was a civilian vessel from the species called the Toral, and it had engine problems. Hyun-woo ordered his ships to assist. The Toral captain was surprised when human warships approached. But instead of attacking or demanding payment, the humans sent engineers to fix the engine. The repairs took 4 hours. When they were complete, Hyun-woo contacted the Toral ship. "Your engines are fixed. You are free to continue your journey. What is the cost?" The Toral captain asked suspiciously. "No cost. You needed help. We provided it. Safe travels." The Toral captain was confused. "But you are a military vessel. Military ships do not help for free." "Human military ships do," Hyun-woo replied. "We protect those who need protection. That is our purpose." As the Toral ship jumped away, Hyun-woo's communications officer smiled. "That captain will tell everyone about this. Good publicity for Earth." "It is not about publicity," Hyun-woo said. "It is about showing what we stand for. Anyone can build weapons. True strength is knowing when to use them and when to offer help instead." Months passed. The galaxy adjusted to the new reality. Earth was no longer the quiet farming world that everyone ignored. It was a serious military power with advanced technology and a large fleet. But it was also something else, a power that seemed genuinely interested in peace. Several aggressive empires quietly abandoned their expansion plans. The calculus had changed. Attacking weaker species was only profitable if there was no strong defender. Now there was a defender, and one with unpredictable capabilities. Better to avoid conflict, smaller species began reaching out to Earth for trade and cultural exchanges. They wanted to learn how humans had developed such advanced technology while maintaining their values. They wanted to understand how a species could be both strong and peaceful. Admiral Thalanak arrived back at the Velkari homeworld. He was immediately summoned to appear before the High Command. He expected to be stripped of his rank and possibly executed for his failure. Instead, something unexpected happened. The High Commander listened to his full report. Thalanak held nothing back. He described Earth's hidden fleet, their advanced technology, their strategic thinking. He explained how humans viewed warfare as a last resort, not a first choice. He talked about their philosophy of mercy and their belief that understanding prevented conflicts better than fear. When he finished, The High Commander was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke. You failed to conquer Earth. By our laws, you should be executed. But you have brought back information that is more valuable than a conquered world. You have shown us that our assumptions about weaker species were wrong. You have given us a new perspective on strength and power. For that, I am assigning you a new role. You will head our military academy. You will teach our future officers about strategic thinking and when not to fight. Thalanak was stunned. You want me to teach officers to avoid fighting? I want you to teach them to think. The Velkari have been strong for so long that we forgot to be wise. You will help change that. It was not forgiveness, exactly. It was recognition that the galaxy had changed and the hegemony needed to change with it. On Earth, 1 year after the Velkari fleet had arrived, President Myray gave a speech at the anniversary ceremony. People gathered from around the world to remember the day their planet almost faced invasion. 1 year ago, we were tested, Myray said. An enemy came to our doorstep, believing we were weak. We showed them that strength can be hidden. We showed them that patience is a weapon. We showed them that mercy is not surrender. Today, we stand as a recognized power in the galaxy. But let us not forget why we built these weapons. Not for glory, not for conquest, but to protect our home and our way of life. She paused, looking out at the crowd. The galaxy knows now that Earth is defended. They know we have weapons that can defend us against any threat. But I hope they also know that we would rather trade than fight. We would rather share our culture than impose it. We would rather make friends than conquer enemies. That is the true strength of humanity. We are warriors when we must be, but we are builders and creators by choice. The crowd cheered. Ships flew overhead in formation, a reminder of the power that protected them. But below, in the cities and towns, people went back to their ordinary lives. They farmed and built and created and loved. The weapons existed to protect that ordinary peace. That was all they had ever wanted. Captain Doyon stood on the bridge of his cargo ship, now genuinely converted to peaceful trade. He had a load of Earth vegetables heading to a trading station 3 systems away. It was boring work, but he preferred boring to exciting. He had seen enough excitement for 1 lifetime. His co-pilot looked at him. Do you miss it? The military life? Doyon thought about it. Sometimes. But mostly, I am glad it is over. We did what we needed to do. Now we can do what we want to do. That is worth more than any battle. Far across the galaxy, in the records of the Galactic Assembly, a new entry was added to Earth's file. It reads simply, Status updated. Threat level, extreme. Recommended approach, peaceful trade and diplomatic engagement. Note, species demonstrates advanced military capability combined with preference for non-violent solutions. Exercise caution, but not hostility. Earth had shown the galaxy its hidden teeth. Now it was showing them something more important, that those teeth would only be used when necessary. In a galaxy governed by force, that restraint made humanity more dangerous and more respected than any amount of weapons could achieve alone. The warships remained on patrol, silent guardians of a peaceful world. They were ready if needed, but they hoped to never be needed again. And every day that passed without conflict, every trade agreement signed, every cultural exchange completed, proved that the greatest victory was not in fighting well, but in not having to fight at all.